September 21, 1941, 11:45 a.m. 15,000 feet above the choppy gray waves of the English Channel off the coast of Dunkirk. The roar of Merlin engines thunders through your cockpit as you bank left, the Spitfire Mk5 slicing the air like a razor. Salt spray from below mixes with the acrid tang of exhaust, and the cold bites through your leather flight jacket. Your Flight Lieutenant Alan Deere, leading a sweep with 602 Squadron, eyes scanning the horizon for the familiar silhouettes of Messerschmitt Bf 109s. The Luftwaffe has been licking its wounds since the Battle of Britain last year, but these cross-channel ops keep the pressure on. You've got 12 kills under your belt, easy pickings against those sluggish Jerry fighters. Today feels routine. Spot 'em, dive, guns blazing. Then, a glint catches your eye, low and fast, skimming the waves like predators. Not the needle-nosed 109s. These are stubby, barrel-chested brutes with radial engines puffing black smoke. What the devil? You mutter into your oxygen mask. They look like those old Curtiss Hawks the French flew before the fall. Captured junk, probably. Inferior American hand-me-downs pressed into service by desperate Krauts. A chuckle crackles over the RT from your wingman. Blimey, Skip, Jerry's scraping the barrel. Those ugly ducklings won't last 5 minutes against our Spits. You can almost feel the collective smirk in the formation. The Spitfire's the queen of the skies, agile, fast climbing, with that elliptical wing that turns on a sixpence. You've danced circles around better foes. Tally-ho, you call, throttling up for the intercept. The enemy climbs to meet you, their shapes growing clearer. Blunt noses, wide cowlings hiding massive BMW 801 engines. But who cares? They're short-winged tubs, no match for your grace. The boys in the mess hall will laugh about this tonight, how you shredded a squadron of relics. As the distance closes, something nags at you. They're not scattering like scared pigeons. Instead, they form up tight, disciplined, engines growling with unnatural power. You pick your target, the lead bird, and roll into a beam attack, gun sight aligned, thumb hovering over the firing button. 8.303 Brownings ready to spit fire. This'll be quick. But then it happens. The ugly duckling snaps into a violent roll, faster than anything you've seen. It's on your tail in a heartbeat, that gaping maw of a propeller disc whirling like a buzzsaw. Cannon shells, 20mm by the sound, whistle past your canopy, shredding the air. Your Spit shudders, fabric tearing from the ailerons. "Brake left," someone yells over the radio, panic edging the voice. You yank the stick, G-forces crushing your chest, but the pursuer sticks like glue, out-rolling, out-accelerating. What is this thing? Not a Curtiss. No captured antique moves like that. Alarms blare in your head as you dive for the deck, praying for cloud cover. Behind you, the sky erupts in chaos, Spitfires twisting desperately, black crosses on those radial engine demons. One of your mates, Sergeant Pilot McLean, catches a burst full in the fuselage. His plane blooms into flame, spiraling down to the unforgiving sea. Back at base that evening, the debrief is a stunned murmur. 11 Spits lost or damaged, against maybe 2 of theirs. They laughed at us, Deere says later, face grim under the hangar lights. No, you think, we laughed first, and now the joke's on us. The Luftwaffe called it the Würger, the Shrike, a bird that impales its prey. But to the RAF, it was a ghost from nowhere, rewriting the rules overnight. Pilots like Wing Commander Brendan Paddy Finnecune, the Irish ace with his shamrock emblazoned Spit, had dominated the Channel front. 28 victories, nerves of steel. Yet even he whispered doubts after that day. Those bastards are faster below 20,000 feet, climb like monkeys, and hit like hammers. Word spreads through fighter command like wildfire. Intelligence officers pore over gun camera footage, blurry frames showing the beast's profile. Focke-Wulf Fw 190, fresh from Kurt Tank's drawing board. powered by a 1,700-horsepower radial that shrugged off hits, armed with 4 cannons and 2 machine guns, twice the punch of your Browning setup. And that landing gear, wide track, stable on rough fields, letting Jerry operate from forward strips in France. But in those early weeks, denial reigns. Fluke, some brass hats say. Poor tactics on our part. Squadron leaders drill harder, emphasize energy fighting, use the Spitfire's superior turn radius. You train in mock combats, imagining the foe as a beefed-up 109. Yet deep down, fear creeps in. Every scramble now carries a shadow. What if those ugly ducklings return? October rolls in, cold fronts sweeping the channel. More encounters. On the 13th, GC-26, Jagdgeschwader 26, the Abbeville boys, under Major Gerhard Schopfel, unleashes hell. Their FW-190A1s, with those deadly MGFF cannons, rake circus operations, bomber escorts meant to lure the Luftwaffe up. Spitfires fall in droves. Pilot officer John Gillespie McGee, the poet who penned High Flight, barely escapes one scrap, his plane holed like Swiss cheese. Back at Germany, on You Can Imagine the German side, aces like Adolf Galland, the cigar-chumping General der Jagdflieger, testing the new mount. Finally, a fighter that flies like I think, he boasts. The Focke-Wulf's cockpit, ergonomic, visibility superb, controls responsive. No more freezing in unheated 109s. This one's got heating, electric starters, even a compressor for high-altitude punch. Back in England, morale dips. Pub talk turns dark. Jerry's got the edge now, mutters a veteran from the Battle of Britain. Air Chief Marshal Sholto Douglas demands answers. Get me one of those things intact. But capturing an FW-190, easier said than done. They don't defect, they dominate. Then, whispers of a breakthrough. Rumors from coastal watches, odd radar blips, strange engine notes. Is Jerry massing more, or is something bigger brewing? As winter looms, one question haunts every briefing room. How do we fight back before they sweep us from the skies?
Late October 1941. Dawn patrol, 8,000 feet over the Pas-de-Calais coast. The sky is the color of bruised steel, clouds boiling low and angry. You're back in the cockpit, this time with 401 Squadron RCAF, Spitfire Mark 5B, wings heavy with 20mm Hispano cannons instead of the usual 303s. Someone in Fighter Command finally listened. If Jerry's packing 4 20mm MG 151-20s and 2 7.92mm machine guns, you need more bite. The new cannons feel right. Heavier recoil, promising real damage. But the knot in your stomach hasn't loosened since September. Below, the French coastline is a thin gray ribbon. Cherbourg, Calais, Abbeville, Luftwaffe forward bases crawling with activity. Intelligence says GG-26 and GG-2 have re-equipped almost entirely with the new Focke-Wulf, calls them the butcher bird now, Virger. You've heard the stories. Radial engine that keeps running even when cylinders are shot out. Armor plate thick enough to shrug off glancing hits. Roll rate so vicious it can snap a Spitfire's wing spar if you try to follow too hard. Today's circus number 21. 6 Blenheims limping toward Lille to drop bombs and bait the Luftwaffe up. Your job, escort them in, cover them out, keep the 190s off their backs. Simple on paper, hell in practice. The bombers drone ahead, black crosses painted under their wings for deception. You orbit high, scanning. Nothing. Too quiet. Then the RT crackles. Bandits! Bandits! Angels 15, closing fast from the east. You snap your head right. There they are. Dozens of them, low and fast, black noses cutting through the murk like sharks. FW-190s, not climbing to meet you at altitude like the old 109s would. They stay low, using speed and the deck to build energy. Smart. Deadly. Break! Break! Wing Commander Johnny Johnson's voice cuts through. Too late for some. The first wave slams into the rear section like a fist. You see it in horrifying clarity. A Spitfire, yellow-nosed, 411 squadron, trying to turn inside an attacker. The 190 doesn't even bother turning with him. It simply rolls 90 degrees, presents its belly, and fires a short, precise burst. 4 streams of tracer converge. The Spitfire's port wing folds like wet cardboard. The pilot has no chance to bail out. Burning fuel trails him all the way to the water. You roll inverted, split S down to the deck, heart hammering. The 190 on your 6 follows without hesitation, closing at terrifying speed. You can hear the BMW 801 snarling behind you, deep, guttural, nothing like the high-pitched whine of the Daimler-Benz. You jink left, right, chop throttle, pray for a stall turn. He matches every move, gaining. A burst rakes your starboard wing. Wood splinters, canvas rips, glycol sprays across the windscreen in a green mist. Warning lights flare, temperature climbing. Your bleeding speed fast. Instinct takes over. You slam the stick forward, nose down, diving for the waves. 5,000, 3,000, 1,000 feet. The 190 sticks, guns flashing again. Something punches through the fuselage behind you, hot metal tearing metal. The rudder pedals go spongy. Then, miracle. Cloud base swallows you both. Gray, nothing. You yank back hard, pull into a climbing turn you know the radial can't follow as tightly at low speed. The 190's silhouette blurs, hesitates, then banks away, hunting easier prey. You level out at wave top height, engine coughing, oil pressure dropping. The circus is shredded. Blenheim's limping home on one engine, spits scattered, some burning on the French beaches. You count maybe 4 of yours still airborne. Back at West Malling that afternoon, the mood is funeral. Wreckage litters the dispersals. Ground crews stare at bullet-riddled fuselages, shaking their heads. They're untouchable below 20 grand, mutters one fitter, and they climb like they're on rails. Air Ministry memos fly. Urgent, top secret. FW-190A3 superiority confirmed. Performance envelope superior to Spitfire VB in speed, roll, dive, and firepower below 20,000 feet. Sholto Douglas reads the reports, face like stone. He knows what this means. The channel is no longer a safe playground. Bomber Command's daylight raids, already costly, will become suicidal without fighter parity. Across the channel, Adolf Golland lights another cigar in the ops room at Oudembert. He's flown the 190 himself, grinning as it outturns, outruns, outguns everything the RAF can throw up. At last, he tells his pilots, a machine worthy of the Jagdwaffe. GG-26's killboard fills with Spitfire silhouettes, promotions, iron crosses, champagne in the mess. But even Golland notices something. The Tommies aren't folding. They keep coming. More cautious now, staying high when they can, refusing to dogfight below 20,000 feet unless forced. They've learned fast. November brings worse weather, gales, rain, icing, but the circus ops continue. On November 22nd, near Le Taquet, another massacre. 485 Squadron, New Zealand, loses 6 in 10 minutes. Squadron leader Eric Wells survives by the skin of his teeth, limping home with half his tail shot away. In the debrief, he says quietly, it's not just better planes, it's better tactics. They don't chase, they ambush, hit, and run. Fighter Command is bleeding experienced pilots. Replacements arrive, eager, green, barely 20 hours on type, easy meat for the veterans of GG2 and GG26. Then comes the strangest rumor of all. A coastal radar station near Beachy Head picks up a single aircraft limping across the channel from France. French accent on the emergency frequency. Mayday, Mayday, Focke-Wulf, I'm coming in. An hour later, a battered FW-190A3 touches down, wheels up on a plowed field near Tangreem. The Oberleutnant, Armin Faber, steps out, dazed, hands raised. He'd become disoriented in cloud after a combat, crossed the channel thinking he was over France, and landed in England. The RAF has its prize. Technicians swarm the machine before the paint is even cooled. They crawl over every panel, measure every surface, photograph every angle. The report that reaches the Air Ministry 2 days later is explosive. Fw-190A3 BMW 801D2 engine, 1700 horsepower at takeoff, 2100 with emergency boost. Top speed 408 miles per hour at 20,000 feet. Roll rate 160 degrees per second. Armament devastating, structurally rugged. Landing gear wide and forgiving, but one line stands out above the rest. Performance indicates marked superiority over current Spitfire variants below 25,000 feet. The brass finally admitted out loud. The Spitfire, the symbol of British defiance, is outclassed. Panic sets in at the highest levels. Supermarine is ordered to rush the next mark. Spitfire Mark 9 with the two-stage Merlin. Griffin-powered Mark 14 already on drawing boards. But those are months away, maybe a year. Until then, how do you fight a better fighter with an inferior one? Pilots start asking the same question in every ready room. And somewhere in a hangar at Farnborough, engineers tear into Armin Faber's 190, looking for weaknesses, any weakness that can be exploited before too many more good men die. The answer, when it comes, will be desperate, brilliant, and born of pure necessity.
December 23, 1941. Farnborough Aerodrome, Hampshire. Late afternoon, low winter sun slanting across frost-rimmed grass. The Fw-190A3 sits in a sealed hangar, floodlights glaring down on its dappled camouflage like an interrogation lamp. Oberlieutenant Armin Faber is already on a train to a POW camp, still bewildered at how he turned left instead of right in the clouds. His mistake has handed Fighter Command the most valuable Christmas present of the war. Inside the hangar, the air smells of oil, hot metal, and nervous sweat. A dozen men, RAF test pilots, Supermarine engineers, Rolls-Royce technicians, even a pair of Polish exiles who once flew for the Luftwaffe, circled the machine like surgeons around a patient. No one speaks above a murmur. Every panel removed, every rivet counted, every control linkage traced. Squadron leader Eric Jumbo Genders, one of the RAF's most experienced test pilots, climbs into the cockpit first. He runs his hands over the instruments. Clear, logical layout, nothing like the cramped chaos of the early 109. The seat is adjustable, padded. Visibility forward is superb, no long nose blocking the view. The control column feels solid, responsive. He mutters, bloody comfortable compared to ours. The engine is the real revelation. BMW 801D2, 14 cylinders in 2 rows, fuel injected, supercharged. They fire it up on the test stand, deep, throaty rumble that shakes the hangar doors. 1,700 horsepower at takeoff, more with MW50 methanol water injection for short bursts. The exhaust stubs glow cherry red. No liquid coolant to leak or freeze. If a cylinder takes a hit, the radial keeps turning. Tough, forgiving, designed for frontline abuse. They weigh every component. The 190 is heavier than the Spitfire VI, about 7,000 pounds loaded versus 6,200, but the power-to-weight ratio is close, and below 20,000 feet, the extra muscle tails. Roll rate measured at 160 degrees per second, nearly double the Spitfires. In mock dogfights on paper, the 190 can reverse direction before a Spitfire pilot even finishes thinking about it. But there are cracks in the armor. The first weakness shows during high-speed dives. The radial engine's drag is higher than the inline Merlin. The 190 bleeds energy faster in prolonged dives. The wings, stubby and thick, create more drag at high speed. Top speed advantage shrinks above 25,000 feet. The undercarriage is wide and strong, good for rough fields, but it means a higher propeller clearance, forcing a longer, heavier nose. That shifts the center of gravity forward. In tight turns at low speed, the nose wants to drop. Pilots have to hold back pressure on the stick. A good Spitfire pilot, staying fast and using the turn advantage, might force the 190 into a stall if he can avoid the initial bounce. Another discovery. The 20mm MGFF are old-school low-velocity weapons with drum magazines that jam if overstressed.
The two cowl-mounted 7.92mm machine guns are almost ornamental compared to the Spitfire's concentrated firepower in the wings. And the radial cowling blocks some forward visibility in a climb. Small edges. But in a knife fight at 15,000 feet, small edges become life or death. The report is rushed to the Air Ministry by Boxing Day. Urgent recommendations. 1. Avoid combat below 20,000 feet unless forced. 2. Use boom and zoom tactics. Dive from above, fire, and zoom climb away. Never turn with the 190. 3. Maximize the Spitfire's strengths. Superior climb at altitude, tighter turning circle at high speed, better energy retention in the vertical. 4. Rush the Spitfire Mark 9 into production. Merlin 61 with two-stage supercharger. Estimated 20 to 30 miles per hour faster at altitude, climb rate restored. Meanwhile, test flights begin in earnest. Wing Commander Sammy Donaldson, a Battle of Britain veteran, takes the captured 190 up. He loops it, rolls it, dives it to 500 miles per hour indicated. On landing, he climbs out pale. He tells the gathered engineers, "It's a beast, but it's not invincible. If you can stay above it and keep your speed, you can live." The RAF issues new combat instructions within days. Squadrons train obsessively. High-side attacks, deflection shooting, energy fighting. No more carefree bounces. Every mission now carries the unspoken rule: see the radial cowling, assume you're the underdog. Across the water, the Luftwaffe senses the shift. Galland notices the Tommies are refusing bait more often, staying high, forcing his 190s to climb into unfavorable altitudes where the Spitfire regains parity. Losses mount on both sides, but the kill ratios begin to even out. The circus ops become grimmer, more calculated. Yet the pressure is relentless. Bomber Command demands escorts for deeper penetrations. The only way to keep daylight bombing viable is to match the FW-190 threat head-on. By spring 1942, the first Spitfire's Mark 9s roll off the line at Castle Bromwich. Powered by the Merlin 61, they climb like rockets, reach 416 miles per hour at 28,000 feet, faster than the 190 at height. Pilots who transition report the difference immediately. The old feeling of supremacy returns. On May 12, 1942, near Lille, a mixed formation of Mark 5 and new Mark 9 Spitfires meets Yachtgay 26 head-on. For the first time, the 190 pilots find themselves outclimbed, outrun at height. A flight of Mark 9s pounces from above, cannons flashing. 3 FW-190s go down burning before they can react. The rest scatter. Galland, watching from the ground, stubs his cigar in fury. He growls to his adjutant. They've got something new. Back in England, the mood lifts. The ugly Duckling is no longer untouchable. The RAF has clawed back the advantage, not by building a better plane from scratch, but by adapting, innovating, and refusing to yield the sky. But the war in the air is far from over. Deeper raids loom, bigger bombers, heavier escorts, and across the Reich, Kurt Tonk's design office is already working on the next evolution, the FW-190D Dora with liquid-cooled inline engine, longer wings, higher speed. The race never stops. And somewhere over France, a young Spitfire pilot tightens his oxygen mask, glances at the altimeter climbing past 25,000 feet, and whispers to himself, "Now it's our turn."
July 19th, 1942. 28,000 feet above Abbeville-Drucat Airfield, northern France. Thin air, razor cold, sun glaring off canopy glass like molten steel. Your Flight Lieutenant James Ginger Lacey, no relation to the famous Ginger, but every bit as determined, strapped into a brand new Spitfire Mark 9, serial BS446, fresh from the factory. The Merlin 61 sings a different song now, deeper growl from the two-stage, two-speed supercharger, smoother power delivery that pins you back in the seat during climb. You've reached Angels 28 in minutes,
faster than any previous Spit could dream. The altimeter needle steady, manifold pressure rock solid. Below, the patchwork of France looks small, fragile. Today's rodeo sweep. No bombers, just fighters probing deep, daring the Luftwaffe to come up and play. Your section, 4 Mark 9s, orbits high, contrails etching white scars across the blue. The older Mark 5s loiter lower as bait, tempting the 190s to bounce them. Classic trap. The new Mark has changed everything. Red section, bandits below and climbing, radials, Angels 22, vectors 0, 9 or 0. You tip the nose down just enough to see them, a swarm of 8 FW-190s clawing for altitude, black smoke trails twisting behind. They've spotted the lower Spits and are committing, standard tactic, hit hard and fast below 20 grand where they rule. But today, the sky belongs to the Mark 9. Red leader, climbing to engage. Stay high, energy fight only, no turns. You push throttle wide, nose down in a controlled dive. The Merlin surges, speed building to 450 miles per hour indicated. The 190s are still 6,000 feet below, laboring upward. You pick the trailing pair, easy meet if you time it right. At 24,000 feet, you level, roll left and slice down in a 45-degree angle. The lead 190 feels your gun sight. He sees you late, too late. You fire a 3-second burst from the 4 20mm Hispanos. Tracers arc out, bright and steady. Hits blossom along the starboard wing route, then the cockpit area. The Focke-Wulf rolls lazily onto its back, canopy gone, pilot tumbling free in a flash of white silk. The plane spins down, trailing fire. Your number 2 calls tally, another kill. The rest of the 190s break hard, scattering like startled birds. They dive for the deck, hoping speed will save them. But the Mark 9s stay above, conserving energy, picking off stragglers with high side attacks. One Jerry tries to reverse, violent aileron roll, snap into a tight turn. You follow just enough to draw lead, but you don't commit. Instead, you zoom climb back to altitude, forcing him to burn precious speed chasing ghosts. When he looks up again, you're already above him, diving once more. A short deflection shot catches his engine cowling. Smoke pours. He jinks toward cloud, but your wingman finishes him with a belly burst. In 12 minutes, the swarm is broken. 4 190s down, 2 probable, the rest fleeing west, trailing glycol and panic. No Spitfires lost. Back at base, the debrief room buzzes with something forgotten. Confidence. Pilots slap shoulders, laugh loud. They climbed right into our laps, one said. Couldn't believe it when we came out of the sun like that. The Mark 9's advantage is clear and brutal at height. It matches or exceeds the 190 in speed above 25,000 feet, climbs 500 feet per minute faster, turns tighter when energy is high. The 4-cannon armament, more destructive than the old mixed setup, rips through armor plate like paper. And most important, pilots now fight on equal terms. No more running from every radial cowling, no more praying that Jerry misses. Fighter Command circulates combat reports like gospel. Engage only when possessing altitude advantage. Use the vertical whenever possible. The FW-190 is vulnerable in prolonged climbs and when forced to turn defensively at high speed. Squadrons convert rapidly. By autumn 1942, most frontline units have at least a flight of Mark 9s. The Luftwaffe feels the sting immediately. JG-26's war diary entries grow terse. Enemy fighters now operating at previously unattainable altitudes. Heavy losses during defensive scrambles. Gallant, now Inspector General of Fighters, fumes in Berlin meetings. He pushes for the FW-190D Dora, long-nose, inline Jumo 113 engine, designed to restore high-altitude performance, but prototypes are months away. For now, his pilots must make do. They adapt, too. JG-2 and JG-26 begin refusing combat above 25,000 feet when possible, lurking lower, ambushing stragglers or damaged bombers. They fit extra fuel tanks, practice head-on attacks to minimize exposure time. But the initiative has shifted. The Channel is no longer a Luftwaffe playground. By late 1942, circus and ramrod operations pushed deeper. Rouen, Lille, even Paris. Spitfire Mark IX wings shepherd B-17s and B-24s on the first tentative American daylight raids. The 190 remains dangerous. Never underestimate a cornered predator, but it no longer dictates terms. One crisp November morning over Saint-Omer, a mixed force of Mark IXs and Thunderbolts, just arriving, meets a large gaggle of JG-26. The battle lasts 40 minutes, twisting from 30,000 feet to the deck. When the RAF and USAAF disengage, 8 190s are confirmed down for 3 Spitfires and 2 P-47s lost. The ratio has flipped. In the officers' mess that night, someone raises a glass. To the Mark IX, they toast, and to Armin Faber, the man who gave us the keys to beat his own plane. Laughter follows, bitter, relieved, triumphant. Yet every pilot knows the truth. Air superiority is never permanent. Kurt Tank is already flying the Dora prototypes. The Me-262 jet is rumored in test. The war's next chapter will demand even more speed, more firepower, more blood. For now, though, the sky over France feels a little wider, a little bluer. The ugly duckling has been tamed, and the men who once laughed at it now fly with something fiercer than laughter in their eyes.
May 8, 1945, VE Day, RAF Biggin Hill, late afternoon. The sky is the softest blue it has been in years, almost mocking in its peace. The war in Europe is over. Hangars stand quiet, dispersal huts empty of urgency. A handful of Spitfire Mk9s and 14s sit on the grass, engines cold, paint chipped and patched from 1,000 sorties. Nearby, a single FW-190 D9 Dora, captured intact near Munich weeks earlier, rests under guard, its long nose and broad propeller blades giving it the look of a predator retired to a museum case. Your wing commander Johnny Johnson again, now the highest-scoring Allied ace of the European theater, with 38 confirmed victories, most flown in Spitfires against the very machines that once terrified the RAF. You walk slowly around the Dora, hands in pockets, boots crunching on the turf. The paint is still the late-war mottled green-gray, the black crosses outlined in white. A small swastika on the tail has been overpainted with RAF roundels, but the outline is still faintly visible. You touch the leading edge of the wing, smooth, strong. The Jumo 213 engine cowling is longer, sleeker than the old radial beasts of 1941. You remember the first time you saw one of these long-nose variants over the Ardennes in December 1944. Faster, higher flying, deadlier in a zoom climb. Even then, with Mustangs and Tempests swarming, the Dora gave as good as it got until the fuel ran dry and the pilots bailed or died in their cockpits. A young mechanic approaches, wiping grease from his hands. "Sir, they're saying this one was flown by a Hauptmann from JG-54, shot down a B-17 and 2 P-51s before he ran out of options." Johnson nods, eyes still on the plane. They were good, too good for a while. He turns away and looks across the field. A group of pilots, some with Canada flashes, others Polish, New Zealand, Czech, stand in a loose circle, passing a bottle of champagne. Laughter carries on the breeze, but it's subdued, almost careful, as if they're afraid to break something fragile. One of them, a Czech flight lieutenant who flew with 310 Squadron, raises his glass towards the Dora. "To the ugly duckling that made us better." The others drink. Someone adds quietly, "and to the ones who didn't come back because of it." Silence falls for a moment. The wind moves through the grass. In the distance, church bells toll across Kent, joyful, relentless, unreal after 6 years. Johnson walks back to his own Spitfire Mk14, the Griffin engine still warm from a celebratory flight earlier.
He climbs onto the wing root, sits on the edge of the cockpit, and lights a cigarette. From here, he can see both machines side by side. The elegant lines of the Spitfire, born of Mitchell's genius and continually reshaped by war. The brutish, functional Dora, designed in haste to answer a desperate need. He exhales smoke on the wing walk and slides down. He pats the Spitfire's fuselage once, almost tenderly. "Rest now, old girl. You've earned it." Across the field, the Dora sits silent. No more whirger cries, no more radial snarls, just metal cooling in the sun, a relic of a season when the sky was contested inch by bloody inch. Later that evening, in the mess, someone puts on a record. In the Mood fills the room. Men dance awkwardly with wafts. Others simply sit and drink and stare into the middle distance. A few slip outside to look at the stars emerging over the Weald. High above, invisible, the contrails have faded. No more black crosses climbing to meet them. No more frantic breaks and rolls and cannon flashes. Only quiet and memory. The laughter of 1941 had turned to grim determination, then to hard-won triumph. The Focke-Wulf Fw-190 did not merely challenge the RAF, it forced it to evolve, to become something fiercer, faster, more lethal. In doing so, it sealed its own fate. From casual derision to desperate adaptation to ultimate mastery. The sky was reclaimed, and it would never be the same.
March 1943, 31,000 feet above the Pas de Calais. Thin, burning cold. The horizon curves visibly, a razor edge between sky and sea. You're now squadron leader Johnny Johnson, commanding No. 127 Wing RCAF, 3 squadrons of Spitfire Mk9s, wings gleaming in the pale spring sun. The Merlin 61 has become as familiar as your own heartbeat. You've added 50-gallon slipper tanks for extra range, letting you roam deeper into occupied France than ever before. Today's Ramrod 16 escorting 24 B-17 Fortresses of the 91st Bomb Group to the marshalling yards at Rouen. The Americans are green, brave, but their daylight precision bombing depends on fighter cover that can stay with them all the way in and out. The heavies lumber below at 25,000 feet, diamond formations tight, silver skins flashing. Contrails stream behind like white banners of defiance. Your wing orbits high above, eyes everywhere. The Luftwaffe has learned too. They no longer swarm recklessly. Now they stalk, small groups of 190s and 109s lurking at the edges of the bomber stream, waiting for stragglers, damaged forts leaking fuel or dragging props. Blue section, eyes on 2 bandits, low, 6 o'clock, climbing fast, radials. You glance down. 2 FW-190A4s, newer subtype with better radios and improved armament, arrowing upward like guided missiles. They've timed it perfectly, aiming for a lone B-17 that's fallen back with a feathered No. 3 engine. Blue leader engaging, stay on the bombers, I'll handle these. You roll inverted, drop the nose, and dive. The Mk9 accelerates smoothly, speed climbing past 480 miles per hour indicated. The 190s see you coming and split. One breaks left, the other right. Classic thatch weave precursor, but cruder. You pick the right-hand one, the leader by his paint scheme. He rolls into a steep bank, trying to force you into a turn where his roll right shines. You don't bite. You stay high, fire a ranging burst from 600 yards. Tracers float past his tail. He jinks violently, but you're already closing. Energy advantage overwhelming. At 400 yards, you squeeze again. 4 20mm cannons hammer in unison. The shells stitch from tail to cockpit. The 190's rudder shatters, then the vertical stabilizer folds. It snaps into a flat spin, tumbling earthward like a broken toy. No shoot. Your wingman takes the other. 1 quick deflection shot, engine fire, pilot bailing out low. 2 down in under 30 seconds. The heavies plow on, bomb bays opening over the target. Flak bursts below in dirty black flowers. A few holes appear in wings and fuselages, but no one falls out of formation.
On the way home, the Luftwaffe tries again. Another swarm of 190s bounces from cloud cover. This time, your entire wing pounces from above. The fight is short, vicious, and one-sided. 4 more 190s burn or crash land. 2 Spitfires return hold, but flyable. Back at Kenley the next day, the Americans are effusive. "You boys saved our asses," a B-17 waist gunner tells you over lukewarm tea. "Those radial bastards came out of nowhere, but you were already there." The tide had turned decisively. By mid-1943, Spitfire Mk9 squadrons claim kill ratios approaching 4-to-1 against the FW-190 in high-altitude engagements. The Luftwaffe's fighter force, stretched across multiple fronts, begins to feel the attrition. Experienced pilots, men who flew the 190 when it was king, are replaced by boys fresh from flight schools, easy prey for veterans like Johnson, who now has 25 victories and counting. Yet the Focke-Wulf refuses to die quietly. Kurt Tank's team have delivered the first FW-190D9 Dora prototypes. Longer nose, liquid-cooled Jumo 213 inline engine, clipped wings for better high-speed performance. Early reports from reconnaissance flights describe it as a 190 with a Mustang's legs. Galland flies one himself, declares it the best piston fighter Germany will ever produce. Production ramps slowly, materials short, factories bombed, but the Dora begins appearing in small numbers by autumn 1943. The RAF responds in kind. Spitfire Mk14 with the massive Griffin engine enters service. 443 miles per hour at 30,000 feet. Climb like a rocket. Then, the ultimate Merlin Spitfire, the Mk16, bubble canopy for all-round vision. And across the Atlantic, the P-51B Mustang arrives in strength, long-range escort that can go all the way to Berlin and back. By D-Day, June 1944, the air over Normandy is an Allied sky. On the first day alone, thousands of sorties are flown with minimal Luftwaffe interference. The once feared FW-190 now scrambles in penny packets, harried from takeoff by prowling Tempests, Mustangs, and late-model Spits. Many are caught on the ground at forward strips, strafed into burning hulks. One final poignant encounter lingers in the records. August 1944, near Falaise, during the German retreat. A lone FW-190A8, low on fuel, tries to limp home across the beachhead. It's intercepted by a flight of Mk9s led by Wing Commander James "Stocky" Edwards. The German pilot, young, desperate, brakes hard, rolls, dives. Edwards stays high, waits for the opening. One pass, cannons flash. The 190's wing folds, cartwheels into a Norman orchard in a fireball. Edwards circles once, low, no chute, just twisted metal and black smoke drifting across the bocage. He rocks his wings in silent salute, then climbs away. In the end, the FW-190 claimed over 6,000 Allied aircraft destroyed. It was a masterpiece born of necessity, a brutal, efficient killer that forced Britain to innovate or lose the sky. Yet it was never unbeatable. It was simply better for a season. The men who laughed at it in 1941, who despaired in the winter of 1941-1942, who clawed back supremacy in 1942-1943, finally saw it reduced to just another burning wreck among thousands. The Channel skies, once contended with such ferocity, grew quiet, and high above, the Spitfire, evolved, relentless, flew on.